All right, welcome back to another episode. I have Spencer Divvers, a.k.a. Bubs, in studio. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Dude, good to be here.
Hell yeah, bro. It's been a long time coming, brother. I heard about you for a couple of years now, and now you made your way to the East Coast.
Hey,
So,
East Coast is the best coast.
East Coast to Beast Coast, baby. So, guys, Bub's been in door-to-door for how many years now, buddy?
7 years.
Jeepers. Well, let's talk about the first 30 to 90 days, because I think that's really important to kind of share. What were you doing? Where was this, and what was it like?
So I actually was at Vivint, like most people. Started out doing smart home, and I think the thing that people don't realize is those first 30 to 90 days, no matter who you are, no matter how talented you've been in other industries or anything, those are going to be the hardest days in door-to-door. And I look back at those 30 to 90 days, and I look at if I would have quit then, what I would not have achieved now.
Love that.
And like that's kind of the part I always tell guys when they first start out is like, hey, these first 30, 90 days, they're going to be hell for you. They're going to be hard. It's going to be miserable. You're going to question everything about yourself. But when you get past those 30 to 90 days, that's when it becomes really sweet.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because, we say that it's like, it's tough the first 30 to 90. It is. However, I was still making more money than I did with my regular job when I was doing the 30 to 90 of struggling. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So do you remember some of those emotions that you were going through during that time?
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was always thinking like, is this really for me? And like, I think the one thing that helped me out is like looking around and seeing other people, your peers succeeding in this job. And like, I always just viewed it as like, I'm not average. I'm not below these people. If they can do this job, I can do this job. And that's kind of like what's helped me have success is like, even at the higher level and like with divisionals, I look at like Joey, Taylor, Beezer, all these guys, and I'm like, yeah, these are talented guys, but they're no better than me. Like if they can do it, I can do it. And I think that's the mindset you got to have in all this as you're progressing and continue.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of times we get challenged, and at a young age, it's very easy to be challenged and want to just kind of quit or fold because there's so much things on Instagram or YouTube or whatever that say, hey, come here and make $1 million and work 10 hours a day. 10 hours a week. It's like, that's not practical, right?
100%.
But anyway, so you fast forward, how did you hear about solar?
So I remember I was actually selling and someone slid into my DMs and said, hey, you're not going to believe this. I have people out here knocking their first summer ever, making $7 to $12 in a week.
Wow.
Bought a flight, flew out to Fresno, California the next day.
Wow.
First week, $32,000.
No way.
Yeah.
So you're a transition. That makes sense. Sometimes you get that call and I hear that they go out there and they go, it didn't work. And then they go and say, well, I worked for 10 days. It's like,
exactly.
How much time did you put in after, like, obviously making that 30,000 makes it like, oh, this might work.
Yeah.
But then what was like the next, I don't know, couple of years, right?
Well, so then it was like, okay, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
And my whole reason I got into like why I wanted to grow and be big is I want my friends to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I started sharing it with everyone. Like, hey, come and try this opportunity out. It might not be for you. It might be. If you're willing to work hard, this job is super, super special. And I've never seen anything like this in solar. I mean, there's 20-year-olds making $15,000 commissions. Like that's insane.
Wow.
So I just started, number one, like, hey, I got to master the craft. So I started as a setter, mastered the setter, learned how to close. And then eventually I wanted to be a leader. And I started recruiting, and to be a recruiter, they have to follow a leader. So I had to develop into being a good closer and a good leader.
That's good. I think it's powerful for a lot, because a lot of times we kind of blind faith follow people.
Yep.
But when you blind faith follow people and then they don't perform, it's hard to like want to continue to drive.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's been cool to see you come over here and not only just like, I mean, brother, you've been hitting home runs, right? Yeah. I know it's not easy to come to the East Coast, not easy to change from
different market,
different people, different divisional group for sure, with live personalities. But nonetheless, the work ethic and the success has happened like that for you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the first thing I think I noticed about the East. Like, your culture down here is incredible. Like, you guys have some of the best leaders I've ever seen in door-to-door. You have some of the most grindy leaders I've ever seen. Like, I mean, there's a lot of divisionals. I love it. Every Saturday, there's a divisional sending a selfie out on the doors. Like, that's not normal. You guys have leaders that are willing to get in the trenches, that are in the trenches. Like, I see these guys fighting for all their reps every week, day in and after day. It's like crazy.
I love that because the West Coast, a little friendly competition.
Yeah.
But the West Coast, we always thought like you guys had it kind of easy because California state law was really, really pushing solar.
Yep.
Obviously, things have kind of flip-flopped, and now people are making that switch over here.
Exactly.
So now that you're here, and now that you've seen kind of East Coast mentality and whatnot, what has really shocked you so much, or what has really surprised you on this coast compared to the West Coast?
I think the one thing that stands out the most is like consistency. Like California, West Coast, you could go out and knock, get a few bills, and you'd have success, and then you could take a couple days off, be a little lazy, complacent. But here, the reason the East Coast is so beast is they're so consistent and they're so level-headed, and they just stay consistent working hard. And that's really how you're going to have a ton of success out here in the East Coast, is what I realized, is just straight consistency. So that's one thing that you guys are phenomenal at. Your guys' numbers are the same week after week. Guys are working hours consistently. Like, it's just, that's the most impressive thing I think I've seen, is just how consistent you guys are. It's like you guys are just dialed on all levels.
Well, you're part of it now, so tell us your schedule. What's been so good for your schedule?
So yeah, what we've been doing is we have some summer guys, some in-market guys. Obviously, with the rain and everything, it can be a little bit challenging. So our goal is like, hey, from 2 to 8:30, you need to be out on the doors. And I always do a little something. Anyone who gets a bill after 8:30 or, anywhere past those hours, you get some type of incentive in each office. We call that the late bill incentive each day. Because those are really where you're going to get people that don't usually get talked to on solar. They might work late jobs. They might not be home at certain hours of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the real money's made in this industry. So yeah, just anywhere from 2 to 8:30, I encourage guys to knock a little bit later, just because I think that's where you're going to catch a lot of people that usually don't.
I like that. Back in the day, we had this rule of three when you're done, because our job is not really physically demanding. It mentally can be challenging, but at the end of the day, it's like we're working 6.5 hours in the street.
Not that hard.
It's not 8 hours. It's not 10.
And you have your morning, go to the gym, you have your routine. It's like we really do have a nice style of life. It's like, take advantage of it, especially if you're young. It's like, this money's crazy, the opportunity's insane. It's like every person that you see in this industry that's successful has taken advantage of it.
Oh yeah, I just interviewed a guy a couple weeks back. He's a corporate CEO, and I couldn't believe that he was sharing this all with me, but he kept telling me all the time, he's like, when you get to that level, the grind doesn't stop, but your personality does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that mean? He says, when you surround yourself with people that are like-minded like you, it's easy to have a personality, but when you separate yourself and put yourself aside from that because of your role, it changes and you lose your personality. So
100%.
What I've noticed is, since you come over this coast, you brought a lot more personality to our group. And so It's been really fun to see that side of it.
No, it's for sure. I love being a little obnoxious to the boys. It's like, this group's great. It's been fun.
Good stuff. So what are you reading right now? What's really pushing you?
So I'm reading Above the Line
by
Urban Meyer. It's been a great read. He just kind of talks about things in leadership, and he's just kind of put a few things in perspective for me. He talks about work-life balance. And I think that's super essential, especially in door-to-door. You've got to be able to manage emotions. This job is so up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one thing you've got to understand is you're striving to have more good news than bad news. And you've got to understand the more you sell, the more challenges you're going to have. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's anywhere in solar. That's anywhere in door-to-door. The more you sell, you'll have more issues, but just sell more so you have more good news than bad news.
Yeah.
You do that, you'll be successful.
That's a good point. Good principle too, guys. Stay consistent, and then you'll get your results. Well, Bubs, we appreciate having you in the studio today.
Good to be here.
So why don't you take us home, brother?
Okay, guys, here we go. Numbers. Let's get it. Boom!
All right, guys and girls, let's take a look at last week's numbers. We did over 210, and if you include some of the other markets that don't show up, we're over there at 225. Great job. All right, start from the top here. And it's the top spot. Oh, a little fire burning underneath their butts. I was there last week. Palm Bay with 27. Bez, nice work, brother. And second, Port St. Lucie with 16. Great work. Winter Haven with 14. Orlando 2 and West Palm Beach both with 13. Great job, guys. Venice with 12. Cape Coral with 11. Englewood with 11. Tulsa with 11. And Lake Nona with 10. Great job, guys. Here we go. We got our top setters of last week. Let's start on the 10th place spot. Mr. Carson Gentro with 11. Nice job. In 9th place, Mia Ortiz with 12. Manuel Petrie with 12. Dylan Johnson with 12. Anthony Escalara with 12. Great job. In 5th place, we got a tie there with Joshua Lee and James Lee. The Lee brothers, or the Lee family. I love it. Maybe not, but hey, I love it. Anyway, top 3. Here we go. Nathaniel Sutera and Caden Bellinger with 15. Excellent week in the top spot. Boston Dumas with 16. Great job, Boston. Excellent job to all you guys in the list. All right, here comes our top closers of last week in 10th place. We got a tie there. Connor Scribner with 4. Christian Foreman with 4. And G. Taylor Dumas with 4. Great job. In the 7th place, Tyler Pinkerton with 5. Micah Mullins with 5. And Francois Mailhot, sorry about that, with 5. And the top 4 spots here, Tyler Bland, Tony Sissio, and Sage Eldridge, all with 6 in that top spot. Mr. Drayden Neiman with 7. Let's go, Drayden. Excellent job, team. Keep up the hard work. All right, guys and girls, I talk about this every week. It is massively important. This shows your growth in your office. Recruits by team. With 7 over the last 14 days, we got Winter Haven, Pensacola, and Lake Nona with 8. Miami and Charlotte with 9. Texarkana, Columbia, and Charleston with 10. Tulsa, Tampa Bay, Palm Bay, and Greenville. And then these guys are really doing it right here. The top spots, top 4 teams, recruiting at least one person into their org every single day. We have Naples with 14. Excellent job. Ocala with 15. Yeah, Gary. 20. Panama City, champ. Let's go. And in the top spot with 23, Mr. Joey Scariano on the Fayetteville teams. Great job, mob dudes. Keep up the hard work and the hustle on recruiting. Let's grow, baby.